On a chilly January day, Donald J. Trump made history, again. He was sworn in as the 47th President of the United States. This wasn't his first rodeo. Trump had occupied the Oval Office before. This time it felt different. The crowd was smaller, the atmosphere subdued. The shadow of his previous term, and the events that followed, loomed large. Trump's victory was unexpected. He had lost the popular vote again. But the Electoral College, that quirky American institution, had delivered him another term. This time he promised things would be different. This time he would make America great again, again. The inauguration took place indoors, a concession to the biting winter wind. Gone was the pomp and circumstance of previous inaugurations. In its place, a sense of urgency. Trump had a lot to do, and he was eager to get started. This inauguration marked the beginning of a new chapter in American history, one that many thought they had closed for good. But Donald Trump, never one to be written off, was back, and he was ready to shake things up. Trump wasted no time in making his mark. On his first day in office, he signed a flurry of executive orders. Some were symbolic, others substantive. All were designed to send a clear message. The Biden era was over. Trump was back in charge. One of his first acts was to withdraw the United States from the Paris Climate Accord. This was a campaign promise he had made, and one that he was determined to keep. Environmentalists were outraged. The rest of the world bewildered. But Trump was undeterred. He also reinstated the Mexico City policy, which prohibited U.S. funding for international organizations that perform or promote abortion. This was a victory for social conservatives, who had cheered Trump's return to power. Trump's executive actions were met with a mixture of praise and condemnation. His supporters saw them as bold and decisive. His critics as reckless and irresponsible. One thing was certain: Trump was governing as he had campaigned, with little regard for convention or consensus. Trump's second term was shaped by the same America First ideology that had defined his first. He promised to crack down on illegal immigration, renegotiate trade deals, and unleash American energy production. He also vowed to restore law and order, rebuild the military, and defeat radical Islamic terrorism. On immigration, Trump doubled down on his promise to build a wall on the U.S.-Mexico border. He also pledged to increase deportations and to end what he called chain migration. These policies were popular with his base, but they drew condemnation from human rights groups and immigration advocates. On trade, Trump promised to put American workers first. He threatened to impose tariffs on goods from China and other countries that he accused of unfair trade practices. He also renegotiated the North American Free Trade Agreement, replacing it with the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement. Trump's policies were often controversial, but they resonated with a segment of the American public that felt left behind by globalization and cultural change. His supporters saw him as a strong leader who was not afraid to stand up for American interests. Trump's approach to foreign policy was as unconventional as his approach to domestic policy. He alienated longtime allies with his protectionist trade policies and his withdrawal from international agreements. He cozied up to dictators and strongmen, praising them for their leadership. Trump's relationship with Russian President Vladimir Putin remained a source of controversy. He repeatedly refused to criticize Putin, even after U.S. intelligence agencies concluded that Russia had interfered in the 2020 election. Trump's decision to withdraw U.S. troops from Afghanistan was met with mixed reactions. Some praised him for ending America's longest war, others criticized him for abandoning Afghanistan to the Taliban. Trump's foreign policy was often unpredictable and erratic. He seemed to make decisions on a whim, without consulting with experts or allies. His actions often left the world guessing about America's role in the world.